The Battle of Chieveley, that was in 1899 in today's South Africa, not here. So what happened? It was during the Second Boer War, and the Boer forces were advancing to Weenen and Estcourt in South Africa. And there was a reconnaissance mission then made by a train, an armored train. And they drove then from Colenso, from Estcourt to Colenso. And they passed the Frere station, and they were told by the naval police that it was clear to drive there, but they drove them on. They were on a mission to look where the enemy is moving around. The Britain and the Boer forces were. And they drove them on, and then they came to an ambush situation where the Boer forces were ambushing the armored train. And the armored train started to open fire with the artillery and then also the riflemen, and then there was the battle. One of the people on the train was Winston Churchill, and he started then, after the train had reversed to drive back, and after there was firing by a second position, I think, as far as I understand it, with artillery and a Maxim pam, the nickname. The train had reversed, driving back, and that had derailed the three last wagons. Had Winston Churchill started to bring the wounded people from the three wagons to the steam engine, while Captain Haldane was holding back the Boer forces with firing. It were 120 soldiers on the British soldiers on the armored train and 200 forces for the Boers. It were mostly the Italian volunteer group. Under the command of Louis Buffet, the armored train was commanded by Charles Long. Now, when the steam engine with the wounded people made it to Colston to safety, Winston Churchill returned, the battle went then on, and most people came into captivity. Most people were captured. 80 of the 120 British soldiers were captured, 20 were wounded, and 2 were killed. Unknown losses now on both sides, according to my source. And Winston Churchill came then into captivity to Pretoria. He said that he was a journalist. He was there to correspond as a journalist for the Morning Post. And he said that he was a journalist and could not come into captivity. The captor said he had a revolver, and therefore was he a prisoner of war. He escaped from Pretoria, and he escaped then through hiding on trains and hiding in a mine to Portuguese East Africa. The Boer forces advanced and occupied in the coming days the hills around Estcourt, and then 8 days later, on the 18th November 1899, there was when the Battle of Willow Grange, in which the British troops lost, but the advance of the Boer forces was stopped. The war continued then on. The end result is that the British forces won. So, that was the Battle of Chieveley on 15th November 1899.